The lawyer's pen hovered over the document. Outside, rain blurred the glass. She watched his hand, waiting for it to move. Her husband sat 3 feet away, but the distance felt like miles. The lawyer cleared his throat. Still, the pen didn't drop. Something was wrong. She could feel it in the way that it pressed against her skin. The office smelled like leather and old paper. A clock ticked somewhere behind her. She didn't turn to look. Her husband's jaw was tight, his eyes fixed on the table. He hadn't spoken in 20 minutes. The lawyer glanced between them, then back at the papers. "Before we proceed," he said slowly, "there's something you both need to see." He slid a thin envelope across the table. It landed halfway between them. Neither reached for it. The lawyer's expression was unreadable, but his fingers drummed once against the desk. "I received this an hour ago," he said. "From the hospital." Her stomach dropped. She hadn't been to a hospital. Not recently. Not for anything that mattered. Her husband's hand moved first. He pulled the envelope toward him, his knuckles white. She watched his face as he opened it. His eyes scanned the page once, then again. His breathing changed. He looked up at her, and for the first time in months, she saw something other than anger. It was confusion, and something sharper. Fear. "What is it?" she asked. Her voice came out thinner than she intended. He didn't answer. He just turned the paper around and pushed it toward her. The header read, "Ultrasound report. Patient name, Sarah Mitchell." Her name. Her pulse hammered in her ears. She hadn't requested an ultrasound. She hadn't even known she needed one. The black and white image stared back at her. A small shape, curved and fragile, suspended in static gray. Beneath it, a line of text. Estimated gestational age, 11 weeks. She read it 3 times. Her hands started shaking. "I don't understand," she whispered. The lawyer leaned back in his chair. "Neither do I," he said quietly. "But this changes everything." Her husband's face had gone pale. He was staring at her like she was a stranger. "You knew," he said. "It wasn't a question." "No," she said quickly. "I didn't." "I swear I didn't know." But even as she said it, her mind was racing backward. The nausea she blamed on stress. The exhaustion, the heaviness in her body she thought was grief. "Then how?" he asked. His voice cracked. She shook her head. She had no answer. The lawyer stood. "I think we should pause here," he said. "You both need time to process this." But time wouldn't help. She knew that already. Time wouldn't explain how she'd missed it, or why the hospital had sent the report here, to this office on this day. Her husband was already standing. He grabbed his coat from the back of the chair, his movements sharp and jagged. "I can't do this," he muttered. "Not right now." He walked out without looking back. The door clicked shut behind him. She sat frozen, staring at the ultrasound image. The lawyer gathered his papers in silence. "Call me when you're ready." She didn't move, couldn't. The image blurred as her eyes filled. She pressed her palm flat against the table to steady herself. 11 weeks. That meant it had happened in late October. She counted backward. October, the weekend they'd driven upstate to see his mother. The last time they'd touched each other without resentment. The last time she'd felt close to him. But that was before everything fell apart. Before the accusations. Before the silence. Before she found the messages on his phone at 2 in the morning, glowing in the dark. Before he'd looked at her like she was the one who'd broken something sacred. Before she'd stopped believing they could survive this. Before she'd called the lawyer. She stood slowly, legs unsteady. The rain was coming down harder now. She pulled on her coat and tucked the ultrasound into her purse. Her phone buzzed. A text from him. "I need space. Don't call me." She stared at the screen until it went dark. Then she walked out into the rain, letting it soak through her hair, her clothes, everything. 3 months earlier, Sarah had still believed in repair. She woke up beside Daniel every morning, their bodies careful not to touch. The bed felt too big. He left for work before sunrise. She stayed in bed, listening to his footsteps fade down the hall. The front door always closed softly, like an apology. They'd been married for 4 years. The first 2 had been easy. They laughed at the same jokes. He kissed her forehead when he passed her in the kitchen. She left notes in his lunch. Small things, the kind that build a life. But somewhere in the 3rd year, the space between them grew. Not loud, not violent, just wider. It started with work. He took on more hours. She buried herself in her job at the museum, cataloging art she no longer had the energy to appreciate. They stopped eating dinner together, stopped asking about each other's days. Conversations became transactions. "Did you pay the electric bill?" "Yes." okay? Silence. Always silence. Then came the night. She couldn't sleep. She reached for her phone at 2 o'clock a.m., scrolling through nothing. His phone lit up on the nightstand. A message. She shouldn't have looked. She knew that, but her hand moved before her mind could stop it. The name on the screen was Emily. The message read, "I miss you too. Tomorrow?" Her chest went tight. She read it again. Then again. Her hands trembled as she set the phone back down exactly where it had been. She lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, replaying every recent conversation, every late night, every excuse. He stirred beside her, still asleep. She didn't wake him. She didn't say a word. The next morning, she asked him about Emily over coffee. Casual. Light. "How's Emily doing?" He looked up, surprised. "Fine, I think." "Why?" She stirred her coffee. "Just wondering. You've mentioned her a few times." He shrugged. "She's a colleague, that's all." He didn't meet her eyes. He never used to look away. She didn't push. Not then. But she started noticing things. The way he tilted his phone away when she walked by. The new cologne. The late meetings that stretched past midnight. She hated herself for becoming the kind of woman who checked pockets, who memorized schedules, who waited by the window. One Friday, she followed him. She wasn't proud of it. She drove 3 cars behind, her heart pounding the entire time. He pulled into a restaurant downtown. She parked across the street and watched. Emily arrived 10 minutes later. Blonde hair, tall, confident. They hugged at the entrance. Not long, not inappropriate, but familiar. Sarah sat in her car until they went inside. Then she drove home, gripping the steering wheel so hard her hands ached. She didn't confront him. She couldn't. Because what if she was wrong? What if it was nothing? What if accusing him was the thing that finally broke them? So she swallowed it, let it sit heavy in her chest, corroding. 2 weeks later, he accused her. They were in the kitchen. She was washing dishes. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "Are you seeing someone?" The question came out of nowhere. She turned, water dripping from her hands. "What?" He repeated it, slower. "Are you seeing someone?" Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. "Why would you ask me that?" She finally managed. "Because you're different," he said. "Distant. You barely talk to me anymore." She almost laughed. "Almost. I barely talk to you," she repeated. He nodded. "Yeah, it feels like you've already left." She turned back to the sink. "Maybe I have." The words hung between them. She hadn't meant to say it, but once it was out, she couldn't take it back. He didn't respond. He just walked out of the kitchen. She heard the bedroom door close. That night, they slept on opposite sides of the bed, backs turned. The space between them had become a canyon. A week later, she found the receipt. It was in his coat pocket, crumpled. A hotel, downtown. The same weekend, he told her he was visiting his brother in Boston. She stood in the closet, staring at the paper. Her vision blurred. She wanted to scream. She wanted to throw something. Instead, she folded the receipt and put it back. That night, she booked an appointment with a divorce lawyer. She didn't tell Daniel. She just went. The lawyer was kind, professional. He asked questions she didn't want to answer. "Do you have children?" "No." "Shared assets?" "The house. Our savings." He nodded, taking notes. "And what made you decide to pursue this now?" She hesitated. "I don't think we love each other anymore." The lawyer looked up. "Do you think he'll contest it?" She shook her head. "I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not." He slid a business card across the desk. "Think about it. But if you're sure, we can start the paperwork." She took the card. She wasn't sure of anything anymore. October came. His mother's birthday. They drove upstate together in silence. The leaves were burning orange and red. She stared out the window, watching the world blur past. He drove with both hands on the wheel, eyes fixed ahead. They hadn't touched in weeks, hadn't kissed in longer. She'd forgotten what his laugh sounded like. His mother welcomed them with warmth Sarah didn't feel she deserved. Dinner was roasted chicken and wine. His mother asked about work, about their plans, about life. Sarah smiled through all of it. Daniel answered most of the questions. She just nodded along. Later, his mother pulled her aside in the kitchen. "Are you two okay?" Sarah forced another smile. "We're fine, just tired." His mother didn't look convinced, but she didn't push. "Marriage is work," she said gently, "but it's worth it. Don't give up too easily." Sarah nodded. She wanted to believe that. She really did. But some things, once broken, can't be fixed with effort alone. That night, they stayed in his childhood bedroom. The bed was small, forcing them closer than they'd been in months. She lay awake, feeling the warmth of his body beside her. He shifted, his hand brushing against hers. She didn't pull away, neither did he. Slowly, carefully, He laced his fingers through hers. She turned toward him in the dark. She couldn't see his face, but she felt his breath. "I'm sorry," he whispered. She didn't know what he was apologizing for. Everything. Nothing. She didn't ask. She just leaned in, and he met her halfway. The kiss was soft, uncertain, but it was something. For one night, they pretended things weren't broken. When they drove home the next day, the silence returned. Whatever had softened between them in the dark faded with the daylight. She stared out the window again. He turned on the radio. They didn't talk about what had happened. They never did. A week later, she called the lawyer back. "I'm ready to move forward." Sarah sat in her car outside the hospital. Engine off, hands gripping the wheel. The ultrasound report was still in her purse. She'd read it a dozen times. It didn't make more sense. She hadn't had symptoms. Or maybe she had, and she'd ignored them, blamed them on stress, on heartbreak. She went inside. The lobby was bright and sterile. A receptionist directed her to the third floor. Obstetrics. The word felt foreign. She took the elevator up, watching the numbers climb. When the doors opened, she stepped into a hallway lined with posters of smiling mothers and sleeping infants. It felt like a different world. "Sarah Mitchell." A nurse appeared, clipboard in hand. Sarah nodded. "Follow me." They walked down the hall to a small exam room. The nurse took her vitals in silence. Blood pressure, temperature, weight. Then she handed Sarah a gown. "Change into this. The doctor will be in shortly." Sarah nodded. The door clicked shut. She changed slowly, folding her clothes on the chair. The gown was thin and cold. She sat on the exam table, paper crinkling beneath her. Her mind raced. 11 weeks. That was almost 3 months. How had she not known? She thought of the nights she'd cried herself to sleep, the mornings she'd barely eaten, the anger, the grief. The doctor entered, mid-50s, graying hair, calm eyes. "Mrs. Mitchell," she said, extending a hand. Sarah shook it. "I'm Dr. Patel. I understand this news was unexpected." Sarah let out a shaky breath. "That's an understatement." Dr. Patel sat on the stool, pulling it closer. "Let's do another ultrasound. Confirm everything." Sarah lay back. The gel was cold against her stomach. Dr. Patel moved to one slowly, eyes on the screen. Sarah couldn't look. She stared at the ceiling tiles, counting them. 1, 2, 3. Then she heard it. A rhythmic whooshing sound. Fast, steady. Dr. Patel smiled. "There's the heartbeat, strong and healthy." Sarah's breath caught. She turned her head toward the screen. There it was, the small shape from the report, but now moving, real, alive. Her eyes filled. Dr. Patel pointed. "Here's the head, arms, legs. Everything looks good." Sarah couldn't speak. She just stared, tears slipping down her temples. "You're about 12 weeks now," Dr. Patel said. 12 weeks. Sarah did the math again. Late October, the night at his mother's house. The last time they'd been close. The last time she'd felt anything other than anger toward him. She closed her eyes. This baby was made in the ruins of their marriage, conceived in a moment of desperate, fleeting softness. And now everything was different. Dr. Patel handed her tissues. "Do you have support? Family?" "The father?" Sarah wiped her eyes. "The father and I. We're separating. He doesn't know yet about this." Dr. Patel nodded gently. "You'll need to tell him soon. Decisions need to be made." Sarah nodded. She knew, but knowing didn't make it easier. She left the hospital with a small stack of printouts, ultrasound images, pamphlets about prenatal care, appointment cards. She sat in her car, staring at the images. The tiny shape, the curve of the spine, the round head. Her hand moved to her stomach, pressing gently. She felt nothing, no movement, no sign, but it was there, growing. Her phone rang. Daniel. She stared at his name on the screen. Then she answered. "Hello." His voice was rough. "We need to talk." She swallowed. "I know. Not over the phone," he said. "Can you meet me at the house?" She glanced at the ultrasound images on the passenger seat. "Yeah, I'll be there in 20 minutes. Daniel was waiting on the porch when she pulled up. He stood as she approached, hands shoved in his pockets. His eyes were red. He'd been crying. She stopped a few feet away. "Hey," she said quietly. He nodded. "Hey." Neither moved. The space between them felt impossible to cross. "I don't even know where to start," he said. She clutched her purse tighter. He neither. He ran a hand through his hair. "That ultrasound. Is it real?" She nodded. "I went to the hospital. Had another one done. It's real." His jaw worked. 12 weeks. "Yeah." He looked away. "That was October," she finished. He met her eyes. "At my mom's," she nodded. He let out a long breath. "I didn't think. I mean, we weren't even trying." We were barely. He trailed off. I know, she said. But it happened. He was quiet for a long time. Then, do you want it? The question landed like a stone. She looked at him, searching his face. Do you? He shook his head. I don't know. I didn't even know it existed until this morning. And now we're supposed to decide. She felt the tears coming again. I don't know either. I don't know anything anymore. He stepped closer. For a moment, she thought he might reach for her, but he stopped. How did we get here? He asked. His voice cracked. How did we end up like this? She shook her head. I don't know. Little things. Big things. All of it. He looked at her, eyes glassy. I never meant to hurt you. Then why did you? She asked. Her voice was barely a whisper. He flinched. I didn't. I wasn't. He stopped. Started again. Emily, and I don't want to hear her name, Sarah said sharply. He closed his mouth. She could see the shame in his eyes, the guilt. It doesn't matter now, she said. None of it matters. It matters to me, he said. I need you to know I didn't cheat. I thought about it. I won't lie. But I didn't. She wanted to believe him. Part of her did. Part of her didn't care anymore. You pulled away first. He continued. You stopped looking at me. Stopped touching me. I felt invisible. So did I, she said. The words came out harder than she intended. You think I didn't feel it? The way you stayed late every night. The way you stopped asking about my day. I felt like I was living with a stranger. He looked down. I'm sorry. She nodded. Me too. They stood in silence. The afternoon light was fading. She could hear a dog barking somewhere down the street. What do we do? He asked finally. She pulled the ultrasound images from her purse and handed them to him. He took them carefully, staring at the small shape. His hands trembled. God, he whispered. I can't do this alone, she said. Her voice shook. If we're really done, if this marriage is over, I can't raise a baby by myself while hating you. He looked up, tears streaming down his face. I don't want you to hate me. Then don't make me, she said. Don't disappear. Don't run. He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. I won't. I promise. She wasn't sure she believed him, but she wanted to. We don't have to decide everything today, she said. But we need time, real time, to figure out what this means. He nodded. Do you want to come inside? She hesitated, then nodded. They sat at the kitchen table, the same table where they'd eaten 1,000 meals, where he'd accused her, where she'd told him she'd already left. Now they sat across from each other, the ultrasound images between them. When did you find out? He asked. This morning, at the lawyer's office. He shook his head. I still don't understand how they sent it there. I don't either, she admitted. But Dr. Patel said sometimes reports get misdirected if there's paperwork confusion. He studied the image. It's so small. 12 weeks, she said. Still early. He looked at her. Are you scared? Terrified, she said. He nodded. Me too. They sat in silence. She watched him trace the outline of the ultrasound with his finger. Gentle, careful, like he was afraid to break it. I don't know if I can be a good father, he said quietly. I don't know if I can be a good mother, she replied. But maybe we could try, he said. She looked at him, really looked. His eyes were the same eyes she'd fallen in love with 6 years ago, the same eyes that had looked at her on their wedding day, the same eyes that had grown distant. But now they were focused, present. Maybe, she said. 3 weeks later, Sarah sat in the waiting room of Dr. Patel's office. Daniel sat beside her. They hadn't moved back in together. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But he came to every appointment. He held her hand in the ultrasound room. He asked questions. He was trying. They both were. The divorce papers sat unsigned in a drawer at home. Neither had mentioned them. It felt like acknowledging them would force a decision neither was ready to make. So they existed in limbo. Not separated. Not together. Just present. Trying to navigate something neither understood. Sarah Mitchell, the nurse called. They stood together. Daniel's hand found the small of her back, guiding her forward. A small gesture, but it mattered. In the exam room, Dr. Patel smiled. How are we feeling? Nauseous, Sarah said. Tired. Normal, Dr. Patel assured her. Let's take a look. The ultrasound screen flickered to life. The baby was bigger now, more defined. Sarah could see the curve of the nose, the shape of fingers. Daniel leaned closer, eyes wide. Wow, he breathed. Dr. Patel pointed. Everything looks perfect. Do you want to know the sex? Sarah glanced at Daniel. He nodded. It's a girl, Dr. Patel said. Sarah felt something break open in her chest. A girl. Daniel's hand tightened around hers. She looked at him. His eyes were wet. A girl, he repeated. Dr. Patel printed the images. I'll see you in 4 weeks. They walked out together, silent, processing. In the parking lot, Daniel stopped. Can we talk? She nodded. They sat in his car, heater running against the November cold. I want to try, he said. Really try. Not just for her, for us. Sarah looked out the window. I don't know if we can fix this. Maybe we can't, he said. But maybe we can build something new. She turned to him. I'm still angry. At you. At myself. At everything. I know, he said. I am too, and I don't trust you, she added. He flinched but nodded. I'll earn it back. She wanted to believe him. Part of her did. But trust wasn't something you could will into existence. It had to grow. Slowly. Painfully. I'm not moving back in, she said. Not yet. He nodded. Okay. And we're going to therapy, she continued. Together. Separately. Whatever it takes. Okay? He said again. She studied his face. I mean it, Daniel. If you're not all in, tell me now. Because I can't do this halfway. I'm all in, he said. She held his gaze, searching for the lie. She didn't find one. Okay, she said finally. He exhaled. They sat in silence. Outside, people walked past, lives continuing. Oblivious, Sarah's hand moved to her stomach. A girl. She still couldn't fully wrap her mind around it. What do you want to name her? Daniel asked. Sarah hadn't thought about it. I don't know. My MOM suggested Claire, he said. Sarah considered it. Claire, she said it again, feeling the shape of it. It's nice. He smiled, a small, hesitant smile. Yeah, it is. They sat until the sun began to set, casting orange light across the parking lot. Eventually, Sarah opened the door. I should go, Daniel nodded. Can I see you tomorrow? She hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, tomorrow. She got out, closing the door softly. He watched her walk to her car. That night, Sarah lay in bed alone. Her apartment was quiet, too quiet. She stared at the ultrasound image on her nightstand. The small face, the tiny hands, clear. She whispered the name into the darkness. It felt fragile, like something that could shatter if she held it too tight. Her phone buzzed, a text from Daniel. Thank you for today. She stared at it, then typed back. Thank you for coming. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, good night, Sarah. She set the phone down. Her hand returned to her stomach. She still couldn't feel anything, but she knew Claire was there, growing. The divorce papers remained in the drawer, unsigned. She didn't know if they ever would be. Maybe they'd work through this. Maybe they wouldn't. Maybe love was enough. Maybe it wasn't. She didn't have answers, just questions. And a life growing inside her. A life that didn't ask for any of this. A life that deserved better. December came. Snow fell. Sarah's stomach began to show. She bought maternity clothes she didn't want to need. Daniel helped her move into a bigger apartment, one with space for a crib. They assembled it together on a Saturday afternoon. Neither spoke much, just worked, side by side, like they used to. They went to therapy, separately at first, then together. It was hard, harder than Sarah expected. They dredged up years of resentment, of hurt, of things left unsaid. Some sessions, she left angry. Some sessions, she left hopeful. Most sessions, she left exhausted. But she kept going. So did he. Christmas approached. His mother invited them both to dinner. Sarah almost said no, but Daniel asked her to come. Please, he said. Just this once. So she went. His mother cried when she saw Sarah's stomach. Happy tears. She hugged Sarah tight. I knew you two would figure it out, she whispered. Sarah didn't correct her. Dinner was warm, full of laughter Sarah hadn't heard in months. Daniel's brother joked about becoming an uncle. His mother asked about names. Sarah and Daniel exchanged a glance. Claire, Daniel said. His mother beamed. That's beautiful. Sarah smiled. For a moment, it felt almost normal, almost like before. But when they left, the cold returned. Daniel drove her home. At her door, he hesitated. Can I come in? She paused, then shook her head. Not tonight. He nodded, trying to hide the disappointment. Okay, I'll see you next week. Yeah, she said. He leaned in, kissed her forehead, then left. She watched him go. January arrived. The due date loomed. Sarah was 36 weeks. Tired, swollen, ready. Daniel stayed close. He texted every morning, called every night. He came to appointments. He bought tiny clothes. He read parenting books. He tried, but Sarah still kept him at arm's length. She couldn't help it. The wound was still too fresh. One night, her water broke. She called Daniel at 2:00 a.m. He answered on the first ring. I'm coming, he said. He was there in 15 minutes. He drove her to the hospital, hand on her knee. She focused on breathing. In, out, The contractions were getting closer, stronger. Labor was long, painful. Daniel stayed the entire time. He held her hand. He wiped her forehead. He whispered encouragement. She squeezed his hand so hard she thought she might break it, but he didn't pull away. He stayed. Through every contraction, every scream, every moment he thought she couldn't do it, he stayed. At 6:47 a.m., Claire was born. Small, pink, screaming. The nurse placed her on Sarah's chest. Sarah looked down at the tiny face, the dark eyes, the perfect fingers, and something inside her cracked open. Love. Immediate. Overwhelming. Terrifying. She started crying. Claire's cry softened. Daniel stood beside the bed, tears streaming. She's perfect, he whispered. Sarah nodded, unable to speak. The nurse took Claire to clean her up. Daniel sat on the edge of the bed. You did it, he said. Sarah let out a shaky laugh. We did it. He smiled. A real smile. The first one she'd seen in months. He leaned in, rested his forehead against hers. They stayed like that. Later, when the room was quiet and Claire was asleep in the bassinet beside the bed, Daniel spoke. I know we're not okay, he said. I know we have a long way to go, but I want you to know. I'm not going anywhere. Not this time. Sarah looked at him. His eyes were clear, certain. She nodded. Okay. They didn't talk about the divorce papers. They didn't talk about moving back in together. They didn't make promises they couldn't keep. They just sat, watching Claire sleep. Two people who'd almost destroyed each other. Two people who'd created something beautiful in the wreckage. Two people trying to figure out what came next. The nurse came in to check vitals. Sarah was cleared to go home the next day. Daniel asked if he could stay the night. Sarah hesitated, then nodded. He pulled the chair close to the bed and settled in. That night, Sarah woke to Claire's cries. Daniel was already up, lifting her from the bassinet. I've got her, he whispered. Sarah watched him in the dim light. He rocked Claire gently, humming something soft. Claire quieted. Sarah felt something shift. Not forgiveness, not yet, but something close. A softening, a possibility. Daniel looked over and caught her watching. He smiled. She smiled back, small, tentative, but real. When they left the hospital, Daniel drove them to Sarah's apartment. He carried Claire's car seat inside. He helped Sarah to the couch. He brought her water. He asked what she needed, and when he moved to leave, Sarah stopped him. Stay, she said quietly. He turned, surprise in his eyes. Are you sure? She nodded. Stay. So he stayed. He slept on the couch the night, and the next, and the next. He helped with feedings, with diapers, with the endless exhaustion. He didn't push, didn't ask for more than she could give. He just showed up, every day, trying. Slowly, the space between them began to shrink. Not gone, but smaller. Weeks passed, then a month. Sarah started to trust him again. Not fully, but enough. Enough to let him hold her when she cried from exhaustion. Enough to fall asleep on his shoulder while Claire slept in her arms. Enough to imagine, maybe, what it might look like to try again. Really try. One night, Daniel pulled the divorce papers from his bag. He'd kept them all this time. He held them up. Do you still want these? Sarah looked at them, then at Claire sleeping in the bassinet, then at Daniel. No, she said. He nodded. Then he tore them in half, then in half again, and again, until they were just pieces of paper. He threw them away. Then he sat beside her on the couch. She leaned into him. He wrapped his arm around her. I love you, he said. She closed her eyes. I know. Do you love me? He asked. She was quiet. Then, I'm trying. He nodded. That's enough. They sat in the quiet, listening to Claire breathe. Sarah didn't know what the future held. She didn't know if they'd make it, if love would be enough, if the broken pieces could ever truly fit back together. But she knew they were trying, both of them, and maybe that was enough. For now, one day at a time, one moment at a time, learning to build something new from the ruins. Spring came. Cherry blossoms bloomed outside the window. Claire was 3 months old, smiling, babbling. Daniel moved back in. Not because Sarah asked, but because it felt right. They were careful with each other, gentle, honest. They went to therapy. They fought sometimes, but they didn't run. They stayed. They worked. One afternoon, Sarah found Daniel in Claire's room. He was holding her, swaying gently, singing. Sarah stood in the doorway, watching. He looked up and saw her. Hey, he said softly. Hey, she replied. I love you, he said. Not a question this time. A statement. Sarah smiled. A full smile. The first in a long time. I love you too. She meant it. She was unsure when it had happened, when the anger had softened into something else. But it had. Love hadn't saved them. It couldn't. but they'd saved themselves, piece by piece, day by day, choosing each other, over and over, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. They put Claire to bed together that night, standing side by side, watching her sleep. Daniel took Sarah's hand. She let him. They stood in the quiet. Not perfect, not fixed, but together. And that was enough. It had to be. Because life didn't come with guarantees. Just moments. And choices. And the people you chose to face them with. Later, they sat on the couch. No TV, no phones. Just them. Do you think we'll make it? Sarah asked. Daniel considered. I don't know, but I want to. Me too, she said. He kissed her temple. She leaned into him. Outside, the city hummed. Inside, Claire slept. And between them, something fragile and precious. Something they'd almost lost. Something they were learning to protect. Not love, not anymore. Something harder, something deeper. Commitment, choice. The decision to stay even when staying was hard. To fight even when fighting felt impossible. To rebuild even when the foundation was cracked. They didn't have all the answers, but they had this moment. And the next. And the one after that. Strung together like fragile beads on a thread. Not a happy ending, not a tragic one. Just an ending that felt real, heavy, uncertain, full of possibility and fear. The kind of ending that doesn't resolve. That leaves you wondering. That sits with you long after the credits roll. The kind that lingers, quiet, true,